Hello folks, welcome to the canal Channel Jose. Today we're going to show you, give you an idea how you can replace pressure regulator switch on a Husky silent compressor. This compressor we acquired for free because it didn't work and we troubleshooted it and we found out that it was the contactors. So now with that we went in Amazon and we purchased this pressure regulator, and we're going to show you how we take off the old one and put the new one. And this cost about $11 to $12. So these compressors new, they range from $200 and above. So we acquire it for free, but all we are gonna have to do is just put a brand new pressure switch and we're gonna have a working compressor. So with that said, we're gonna show you the procedures. We're gonna leave the link of the compressor, and we're gonna leave the link of the pressure regulator, where we bought it, in case you need to purchase this item. So with that said, let's get started. So for this job, what we're gonna be needing is we're gonna need a Phillips screwdriver. We're gonna need some Teflon, some vice grips. We're gonna need a 5/16 socket, and we're using an extension. That way we have clearance, and then we can get the ratchet away from the machine. So we have a 5/16 with an extension, and we're gonna need a Allen wrench 6mm to take the plugs off the other regulator and transfer them to the new one. And here is a new pressure switch regulator. This is how the piece looks like. And we're going to show you how to get to it, what was the problem, and how to install this one. This is how the compressor looks like. And we're going to have to take off that guy right there off. That's the problem right now. So to take that guy off, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to remove this plate so we can work in there easier. So we're going to have to take up this red knob off that has a Phillips screw. And then once we take that one off, we're going to have to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5/16 bolts. And then once we remove that, we can remove that front plate. That way we can work on that regulator with less struggle. Now that we have taken out the knob, because we're going to pull the plate and that knob is going to be on the way through for this valve to go through the hole. That's why we're taking out the knob. So we take out the 5/16 bolts, so we remove the plate. That's the reason of removing the plate, so we can work easier on this area. So now, before we start, we want to take off this plug, which are 6mm Allen wrench, and then we're going to take off this hose right here, and then we're going to take off this copper hard line down here, take it off as well. So we're going to be, once we do that, we're going to take off the regulator from the tank, but we're going to have to disconnect the wiring as well. So we take out those 2 plugs and the hose and the hard line. Take out these 2 plugs and a bench once you take all these out, so that way if you need more leverage or you want to put it on a vise, this one and this one. But I'm going to do it right here on the compressor to show you. And they might be stuck in there because they have some hard product that it keeps them pretty well tight. So want to be careful when you're taking these out though. If you don't have extras, if you can take these out, make sure you got extras for the new one. But you need to plug those 2 out, and you need those plugs to transfer it. So you need a plug in this side, plug in this side. This is going to be attached to the tank. This is going to be the hose, the hard line right here, and the wiring. So this is how it sits right there like this. So we need to plug this side and this side. So now what we have to take off is, once we remove those 2 plugs, we have to remove this hose, and this hose turns, so we have to remove this, thread it into the pressure switch so we can use some vice grips. That's what we're going to be using, because this is going to be seasoned there, and if we try to use a wrench, it's going to strip it. So now we have disconnected this whole unit from the pressure switch. So that was connecting the gauges and the knob and all these other the fittings by this hose into the switch. So now we can start removing the copper line, and then we can continue to the electrical. So now to remove this hard line from the regulator, we're using a 12 millimeter flare nut wrench. So we put it on and we start undoing that flare nut. So now that we undid the flare nut off, we can pull the copper line off away, so we can pull it away from the pressure switch. So now we have to remove this plastic cover so we can expose the wiring inside here. So there's a Phillips screw on this side that we have to remove to take that cover off. And this is how it sits like this. So if we look at it from the front, that's where the Phillips screw is that holds the plastic cover to the pressure switch. So that's the same scenario for this. So we get in this side and we remove this Phillips screw so we can remove the cover. So now that we have removed the plastic cover, we have to remove the wiring, and then this connector here connects on this side of the switch, and the other cable, this other one, that's where the power comes in, connects on the other side of the switch. So there's contactors in there. We're gonna show you what happened to this. So we're gonna disconnect this by removing this Phillips screw, this other Phillips screw. There's 4 Phillips screws on the back that removes this guy. So we can take him off and then start undoing the wiring. So now what we have to remove is 1, 2, 3, 4 Phillips screws, so we can remove the pressure switch off of the hard part, so we can undo the wiring and then start taking off that and transfer it to the new one, and then start installing this area. So those 4 Phillips screws are these 1, 2, 3, 4 that we took off from that regulator to take the pressure switch off the fittings where the air splits, and this is the electrical side. So we had to remove this so we can work on it on outside like this, and we can start transferring to this. So now that we have this by itself where the fittings all attached to it, no electrical, we can undo this from the tank so we can start installing the new one into it, so we can start with everything that is compatible to each other with a new switch. This is the last component that was attached to the tank that we have to take off. So now that we have removed this one, we can put the new one and start installing the new pressure switch with the wiring. What I would recommend is that you want to clean these areas, these threads, with a wire brush, so that way everything's clean when you put the Teflon or whatever you use to seal, and everything's clean with the fresh threads to the new one. So now what we're going to be doing is we'll take the new one apart, we'll take it off, take the cover off, we'll take out the pressure switch electrical part from the where the lines attach, and then that way we can thread this in, and then we can start threading the hoses and transfer the electrical to this other side, and then we'll put it together. What we start doing is we put the Teflon tape on this fitting so we can start threading in the aluminum part. So as we're looking at the aluminum part from the back, this one with the hard line down, this side is the one that threads into that fitting. So we thread that in so we can start getting everything back together on the hard line, and then we put the electrical in. Now that we have put in our uh, aluminum structure, we can start attaching the hoses to it, and then we'll continue on the electrical side. So now we're putting the plugs, one on the top and one on the side, and they already got Teflon, so we put them on. So now that we're done with these, now we can start doing the switch. So we're gonna be transferring the wiring, and then as you can see, one cable comes in black, ground, and white, going half of the switch, and then the other wire goes green, black, and white. So half is for one wire, and the other one is for the other wire. So we just connect them, disconnect them, take a picture if you want to have a reference, but we disconnect them and we transfer them to the other switch. You gotta undo these nuts back here to be able to extract the wire. So now what we have done is we disconnected it, the power incoming to the switch. So we're gonna transfer all these wires in, connect it, and then disconnect the other wire that goes to the motor through here. So we'll do one at a time. So we take off these plastics off and we transfer whatever we need. One thing we're finding out is that we have a few pieces that we might need from the old switch to the new switch. For example, the ground screw is not in here, so we're gonna use the old one to put the ground into the body of the new pressure switch. So we transfer this switch some pieces from the other one. So save some, don't throw away the pieces until you have everything together, because you might need to transfer some old pieces to the new one, like these screws. Now we take the other half of the electrical and put it on the new one. So we have the original contactors or pressure switch and the new one. And as you can see inside there, there's a piece missing right here. And there's two pieces over here that are sending current from one side to another side. Well, this side right here broke off in two. And that was a problem. So we are replacing the old one with the new one. And instead of putting some old pieces in new pieces into an old one, we're going to start with a fresh one. So that's a problem. $11 right there. So now we transfer the other wires to this side and we start putting this switch together. So the new switch comes with these threaded nuts that go and tighten the wire to the switch. So what we can do is we have to transfer the new stuff that comes in the switch, the nut and this compression ring that tightens the wire to the switch. That way any pull or vibration, the wire doesn't come out. So we put the new ones on. So one thing that we want to make sure is that if you connected a black wire on this side and a white wire over here, you follow the same pattern so that electricity flows right through to the white wire over here and to the black wire from this side to this side. So you don't cross reference and you end up with a blown circuit or damaged equipment or even getting hurt. So you want to make sure that that's everything. Once everything's together, we start putting back the switch. So now that we have put the switch and we put the diaphragm right in there, we tighten all the bolts and nuts that we hold the structure of the electrical side to the pneumatic side. So we tighten them all four. We test it before we put the cover back on. Before we start putting this hose back together, that which is the last one, we can test our compressor to see if it turns on before we start hooking up the outer parts. There's something that is not right, then we can still work with it. So now we check it before we put everything back together. This hose is the last one, but before we connect it, we can check. So now we have the power source. We're about to connect it, and we just want to see if the compressor turns on. We connect it. So it does work. So now we can connect the gauge and all the other stuff that was the fittings, so we can start building up our cover and everything, so we can put it together now. So now this hose, we can put some Teflon and then we can thread it in. So now that we have threaded in our hose, now we have everything put back together. We just need a cover plate, but let's turn it on and see if the tank builds up pressure. So there it goes. It turned off about 120. Let's see if the pressure drops. Will it turn on? There it goes. It turned on when it reached about 75. So let's see if it turns off again. So that means that the switch is doing its job now. So there you go. It's working properly now. So let's put the cover back on and everything that needs to be for the switch as well. And well, folks, we wanted to expose this info that it can be useful to some other friends who are watching our video. And all it was the contactors, which work by pressure, and they're activated with the copper legs. But those copper legs were, one of them was broken, so that's why this compressor wasn't turning on. So we got this compressor for free, pretty much. And all we have to do is we do some troubleshooting. We found out that one of the legs was broken. We ordered a part for $11 or $12 on Amazon, and we're gonna have a working compressor for $11 pretty much.